And when they couple, it will form a dipeptide. Mr. Farina, show me the prebiotic chemistry that would do this coupling. Be my guest.
Okay. Yeah, I don't need the board.
You were absolutely clueless on polypeptides. You never gave me the coupling for that reaction. He didn't answer the question. I invited him to come up to show me the chemistry, how this is done.
No,
he did not. He did not.
It's been demonstrated by hundreds of researchers, and it's just
show us. Right here.
I
here.
just showed you.
Do it. You got hundreds of examples. Show us. You won't come up.
What do you
won't
want?
do it.
In this video, we're going to dive into a debate between Dr. James Tour and Dave Farina, like how life originated and whether the current research is really giving us answers or just more confusion. Well, imagine two people on opposite sides of a scientific debate. One of them, a world-renowned chemist, and the other is a popular YouTuber who claims to know more than the experts.
Okay, with intent, there is going to be nothing about God in this. I think I mentioned right at the end, I write the word God to say, you did not hear me speak about God at all. So when people say that Tour uses God of the gaps arguments, or Tour has to bring God into this, or Tour has to bring in miracles into this, they're wrong, okay? They're wrong. All right, now, I am locked and loaded, and it's not because of you. It's because of my position on these things has brought attack from people on the internet and attack from the scientific community. That's why I am locked and loaded. So if you think that I am being hard on people, trust me, I am an angel compared to the way that they treat me. Okay? So because I know in this day and age, you say one little thing that might, ruffle some feathers, and you look at people like, boy, they should be canceled. But it's going to happen tonight. All right? So there was a video put out a couple of years ago by Professor Dave, it was a guy named Dave Farina, and that has 786,000 views as of today. And he talks a lot about my motivation for doing these things. I was psychoanalyzed, and he knew things about me that I didn't even know about myself at all. And so I came out with a 13-part series. It's actually 14 parts because one of the parts is A and B, but say a 13-part series on abiogenesis. And so you can listen to all of those parts. And so you see, I don't have the YouTube following that he has. This has 43,000 views in the last year. In 2 years, he has 786,000. So, if you guys would just click on it a few times, bring the numbers up, that'd be helpful. And what I also did is, so you don't have to click on all the different parts, you can just click once, and now it's 9 hours of content. And you can just listen to it. Because I had to go through the science. It's just strictly science. I'm going through the science. And there's a lot involved there. And so then he came out with a 2-part series on me again. Now, these have got like almost 800,000 views, 900,000 views. And again, he says I'm still clueless. So we will address that, not so much tonight, but that will be addressed in due time. So it's because I have a day job that I can't just run in and make YouTube videos. And this is not easy because I have to actually read papers and go through the data on the papers.
What happens when they finally meet? Let's just say things don't go exactly as planned.
Before we get started, I want to do something. I've got a gift for Mr. Farina. Now, I was thinking, what could I get such an amazing person? And I got you something that I am sure you do not have. This is something called laser-induced graphene. It was a process we developed in 2013 where a laser can hit any surface that's made out of carbon, and in this case, it's paper. And the laser can write a pattern. So what you're going to look at is paper that has been converted into carbon. The carbohydrates have been converted into graphene through the laser action. And so here's what we've got for you.
That's very lovely. It's a nice gesture, thank you. Is this on? Thank you. Thanks very much, James.
I mean, come on, giving a gift to the person you're about to debate? You've got to admit, this is pretty unusual. But Dr. Tour is showing a level of respect that you just don't see often, especially in debates like these.
So I'm defining clueless in the context of my typical usage. We cannot solve any of the 5 criteria needed to make a living cell. None of these can be solved. Mr. Farina has complained that I am a religious man. I'm not just religious, I'm deeply religious. Or as he puts it, I'm a, quote, super Jesus guy, unquote. While that's a label that I gladly embrace, and I believe that the Bible is God's word, I never appeal to that book of authority in my academic lectures or scientific discussions. Never, unless specifically asked about my religious convictions, like in a church or a religious podcast, I never couple those to my scientific criticisms of origin of life research. I will not appeal to the Bible, to God, to miracles, to Jesus, to God of the gaps tonight. Often, origin of life researchers have a time of the gaps appeal, where they will say something to the effect, over millions of years, such and such happened. Those bedtime stories that are devoid of any precise chemistry may as well start with once upon a time. So I hope that my opponent will likewise not appeal to ill-defined time of the gaps arguments, and that he'll stay strictly on the scientific data, the data. As for me, I will stick to the data. The topic tonight is not about me, it's whether there is a valid hypothesis to make a living cell on a mindless early Earth. In discussing scientific data, it's not a matter of deception or lies. It is a matter of data interpretation. That happens all the time in science. It's hard to interpret the scientific literature data. And as I do with my graduate students, we learn from each other. They from me and I from them. I plan to address Mr. Farina as I would a graduate student seeking to learn from him tonight.
So this is a part of his opening statement, but it's important to notice what he's doing here. Dr. Tour is keeping things strictly on the scientific data. He's making it clear from the start that he's not relying on his faith for this argument, only the science.
These are the 5 criteria. These are the 5 criteria that have to be experimentally addressed in a prebiotically relevant manner in order to have a valid hypothesis for life's origin. We only have time for 5 tonight. Polypeptides, polynucleotides, polysaccharides, the origin of specified information, and the assembly of the above components into an integrated, functional, living system, namely a cell, not merely a random mixture of these. If my opponent is unable to supply all 5 criteria for life, then we're currently clueless on the origin of life.
Dr. Tour isn't asking for much, assuming you know chemistry in a deeper level, just like what Farina is seeming to act like. He's just asking for clear scientific data that addresses the issue directly. So Dr. Tour's challenge is simple. If life can be made in a lab, let's see the exact data that shows how. But here's the kicker. Many prominent origin of life researchers have already admitted that they're clueless about how it really happened. Now this may not be the most formal debate, but I want you to remember Dr. Tour's opening statement. And now listen to how Dave Farina starts. We should expect pure data addressing Dr. Tour's challenge, right?
Hey everyone, thanks to Rice University for having us here tonight. We are here because of James Tour. James is a chemist and also an apologist who lies about origin of life research on the internet. It's quite the double life. In order to understand why he does this, we turn to his faith. James has admitted publicly that he is a creationist. He believes that God created life due to religious scripture, which to him takes priority over scientific evidence. From his website, faith and belief go beyond scientific evidence for this scientist. Anyone who thinks this is not relevant to the discussion is delusional, as James is openly admitting that there's no science that could ever be done that will convince him that life was not directly created by God. He is ideologically bound to denying abiogenesis. He sometimes pretends to leave room for it, as he did just now, to seem open-minded, but he isn't. He's totally dogmatic. Therefore, his opinions on origin of life research are irrelevant, as he is approaching the field not as a scientist, but as a preacher.
You can see the difference right away. Dr. Tour laid out the scientific challenge without wasting his time on personal attack. Farina, on the other hand, starts his statement by attacking Dr. Tour personally. He brings up religion, calls him a liar, and questions his scientific credibility. But notice he hasn't addressed the actual issue yet. This sets the tone for how the rest of the debate will go, unfortunately. And now Dr. Tour is about to put something on the board.
One of the things that we have to make in order to have life are polypeptides, where we take amino acids and these amino acids have to couple. And when they couple, it will form a dipeptide. This dipeptide is one of thousands and thousands and thousands that would have to form. If you were going to make a polypeptide, you'd need at least 100 of these for a very small polypeptide. Mr. Farina, show me the prebiotic chemistry that would do this coupling. Be my guest.
Okay. Yeah, I don't need the board.
Do you see Farina going up to the board to directly address the issue? This was his moment to prove Dr. Tour wrong, but he doesn't take it. But why? This is really a perfect moment to humiliate Dr. Tour. Instead, he keeps pulling up research papers, none of which actually answer Dr. Tour's challenge. If Farina had the answer, he'd get up, pick up the chalk, and show the data directly on the board, right?
This is the primordial soup model. It just means some molecules in water. That's what it means.
Look, you were absolutely clueless on
James.
polypeptides. You never gave me the coupling for that reaction. I want you to notice I'm going to narrate. This is my time
James.
now. I want you to notice
No.
he didn't answer the question. I invited him to come up to show me the chemistry, how this is done.
No, I
he
did.
did not. He did not. And now you want me to say, so now this is the
No,
question. The
I
question
showed
is,
counter
I
research
just
that
told
does
you
it.
the
He's just
primordial
confusing it.
soup model
James.
is nonsense, and this is in these textbooks,
You
and this
think
is taught
that
over and
molecules
over
turning
again.
into
Here we see Dr. Tour erasing the formula after Farina failed to meet the challenge. Now I understand Dr. Tour's frustration, but his temper isn't fully justified. Still, the point remains. Farina didn't answer the challenge.
Let's also try to see if we can stick more to the science instead of diagrams.
Oh, I would love to stick
Well,
to
that
the
was my
science.
only prompt for the
All
lies.
right.
It's important to establish that
Polynucleotides.
James is a liar.
Dr. Guida's point here is really insightful. Stick to science. It's a subtle rebuke to the ad hominem attacks Farina keeps making. And even though I don't condone Dr. Tour's temper, you can clearly see who is focused on the actual science.
Polynucleotides. You have to be able to make RNA. You have to be able to take this molecule and hook it together many, many times to have a dimer of RNA, abbreviating the base, this time as B, abbreviating the triphosphate as P3. What you have to be able to do is show me chemistry. I'm asking you specifically for chemistry, not a bunch of nonsense here. Show me the chemistry
Not a bunch
to
of
get
peer-reviewed
this
research.
reaction to go such that you get coupling between the 3' hydroxyl to this 5' site. So you need 3', 5' coupling to the exclusion of 2', 5' coupling to the exclusion of branching. Every article that you cited in your videos, every article that you could ever cite, that shows this coupling, shows this scrambling. You get significant amounts of 2,5, significant amount of branching.
Now, if you think Dave Farina is winning this debate, you probably haven't been watching closely. At this point, if I were Farina, I would admit that I was wrong, or at least acknowledge that there's something I'm missing. But instead, the humiliation just keeps building.
James, look, the
And
research
Benner
shows
never told us how much is there.
functional RNAs. So it doesn't matter how much 2', doesn't matter how much 2'.
It certainly
He's
does.
allowing them to
And what
polymerize.
about branching?
My God.
It's not there. It's not
Let's
there.
see.
Nobody has ever done this prebiotically. You're going to be looking through your papers a long time. It's never been done. Without an
James,
enzyme, it has never
You are
been done.
completely clueless.
It's
This has
over.
been done.
It's over. You can't make RNA, there's no life. You can't make RNA, there is no life. You haven't made peptides, you haven't made RNA. It's over.
So
Incredible.
just from a chemical point of view, though, we would need to know what functional RNA meant.
Having
Function and-
catalytic properties.
function- because RNA has
Look,
many functions.
It still has
So-
recognition and catalytic function. It lowers the melting point of the duplexes by destabilization, so separation can occur under reasonable
And
conditions.
what was the percentage? You got everything else written down. What was
James,
the
I'm
I
sorry
don't know.
that- I'm sorry that I don't have an
You know,
encyclopedic
Benner's
knowledge
very
of
careful.
hundreds
He
of
would tell
papers.
us.
Dr. Guida's question about the functional RNA was meant to push the debate forward, but Farina couldn't answer it. He admitted that he didn't know all the research, which is pretty embarrassing considering he's the one who claimed Dr. Tour was clueless, and that all he had was research papers.
Okay,
Because-
it's time to end that part, but I want to just pause. To have functional RNA, it has to do at least three things. It has to serve as messenger RNA, ribosomal RNA, and
No. Messenger RNA. You're talking about features of modern cells. We're talking about prebiotic
but
nucleic
ultimately
acids.
has to do that. So what function is my question? Did he show that it performed? 'Cause it has to at least
I mean,
perform one of the three. Ultimately, it's going to have to perform all three.
Yeah, I mean, it's replication. I'm not sure exactly in the context of the paper, but he's saying that 2' linkages don't matter. As though you people have any clue what any of us are talking about. Oh, I know about RNA. No, you don't. You have no clue what either of us are saying. Deal with it. Answer the question.
I want to play more clips, but it's just a headache every time Farina doesn't address the issue head on. Now let's see this interesting Q&A.
My question is for both Dr. Tor and Mr. Farina. It's simply put, what is one thing that they admire about each other's scientific career?
Okay, let me start. Let me start. This man has said multiple times that I have called him stupid. I have never called him stupid because I don't think he's stupid. I have said he's clueless on this topic. I have said he cannot read the scientific literature. That doesn't mean stupid. This man has become a musician, and then he went out, and in 2015, he started an educational site, which is huge. Stupid people can't do that. I admire him. This is an educational site, and I have never called him stupid because he's not stupid. He's not stupid. So I admire him for his educational site. And from what I understand, I'm not a musician. From what I understand, what people have said, he's an excellent musician. I admire him for that as well. His wife is here. He's a father. He has 2 children. I admire that a man can have a wife and 2 children and stay married and do these things these days. That is wonderful. That is wonderful. I admire that.
I admire the tenacity with which you stick to a script of lies. It's actually quite impressive. I never said Dave was stupid. I just said his content is a manure dump. I just said everything he says is wrong. I said he's clueless. I said he doesn't know chemistry. Although, again, who's used my content to pass his class? Anybody here? That's what I thought, James. He doesn't know chemistry, yet I'm helping your students. Isn't that interesting?
Thank you.
Even in a heated debate, Dr. Tour shows respect towards Farina. He acknowledges Farina's success and talent and gives credit where it's due. Farina, on the other hand, chooses to respond with another personal attack. This just shows the difference in approach. Christians, and really anyone, should aim to take the peaceful route when given the chance. But here's what we need to remember. Even if life was simulated in a lab, it still only proves one thing, that life required intelligent force to orchestrate it. If you want to dive deeper into this, check out my previous video where I talk about how information in biology always points to intelligence. I'll link it in the description below. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next one.